Evening all. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping for you all. We're not expecting a fire drill, so in the event that fire alarm sounds during the course of this meeting, please leave the building immediately by the nearest available exit. Escape routes are indicated by arrows on the green signs. Do not use the lift. If anyone present has difficulty in negotiating the stairs, please make yourself known and we will discuss the most appropriate evacuation procedure with you. When clear of the building, proceed to the assembly point on the marketplace, top end of the marketplace opposite facing, and do not re-enter the building until told to do so by the person in charge. Thank you. Okay, let's start. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, Madam. We have apologies from Councillors Clark, Eggleton, Hinton and Romans.
Before I go on, I just wanted to say a few words about Councillor Paula Isaac, who unfortunately resigned as a Henley councillor. I'm sure you've all read about this. Paula was an exceptional councillor. She was a hands-on community player who we were privileged to have within the council. In addition to being Vice Chair of Town and Community, she also worked on other community projects, the Gainsborough Association, amongst others. We're all very sad to see her go, but given the recent events that have taken place in her personal life, it is clearly the right thing for Paula to do, to concentrate on her own health and that of her lovely family. We're all going to miss Paula's enthusiasm, strong work ethic, but hopefully in the not too distant future, she might rejoin the council. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank Paula for her hard work and dedication to all things Henley. Thank you. Right, let's go. Public participation. No, sorry, item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? I see none. Item 3 is public participation. To receive questions and comments from members of the public on any matter affecting the town. If you have a question, stand up, give me your name and an address, and off you go. So, would anybody like to speak on anything this evening? Yes, lady at the front. If you'd like to stand up and.
Is this on a specific item now or for?
It depends. I don't. What are you talking? What?
You want us to talk now about what we come to talk about?
Absolutely. Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Diana Barnett, and I'm part with Henley, and I'd like to talk about the emergency item that we're doing on. I also want to talk about another item, but I'll let other people talk about it. In the 1950s, when I was a child, sparrows were 2 a penny, and you could hear them all the time chattering on the gas rings. Now, this year, house sparrows and tree sparrows are on the RSPB red list. I remember seeing clouds of seagulls chasing after tractors ploughing fields, following behind, feeding on worms and the insects being turned over. The last time I saw a field being ploughed, just a handful of birds were following the plough. These are my personal observations. But if you like statistics, according to the 2019 State of Nature report, 41% of UK species have declined since 1970. 26% of UK mammals in real risk of extinction as we've already lost 95% of our hedgerows. In the last century, 97% of our wildlife meadows have been lost, and the first of wildlife will be lost as a consequence. So what has happened? Why are there as many insects in the soil as there used to be? Why are we losing creatures that used to be common everywhere, like the Bexley bat, which now only has 10 breeding locations in England and Wales? The answer is partly due to loss of habitat, hedgerows and ancient worm from urbanisation, partly pollution, overuse of chemicals, poisoning of soil, and killing certain pests, and of course climate change. All actions are due to man. Most of us would say we are nature lovers. The past year and a half has shown how important wild spaces are to us humans. They are critical for our health and well-being. Human health depends intrinsically on nature's health, and yet, according to the World Wildlife Fund for Nature, our relationship with the natural world is fundamentally broken. So if we want to survive, we have to look after our biodiversity. That's our first defense, which incidental scientists now say are more important to our environment than bees, and we know how important bees are. Also threatened invertebrates such as staggerant tools, tansy beetles, ruby-tailed wasps, the shrill cardinal, the iron-ring mayfly, and the small tortoiseshell butterfly, who all play their part in maintaining our precarious ecology. We shouldn't just thinking about doing something, it is imperative that we do something about this environmental crisis. And I believe that this council and our town can lead the way in showing we care about our town, we care about our environment, and we care about our future.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything they wish to say? Yes, the lady next door to Diane. Let's just give your name. 3 minutes max, thank you.
My name is Kate Aldridge, I'm a member of Green Haven. And as Diana has clearly explained, the natural world has reached crisis point. So David Attenborough said, if we have not taken dramatic action within the next decade, we will face irreversible damage to the natural world and the collapse of our societies. We have to move now, and I'm really grateful to the Council for the leadership it's providing in relation to this vital issue. Acknowledging an ecological emergency is a positive first step on the road to signalling the Council's commitment to protect and restore the natural environment around Henley. This is not about grinding to a halt, but ensuring that we do things with care and attention and minimising ecological disruption wherever we can. Greener Henley and the Climate Emergency Working Group have been working together over the past 9 months to develop the Henley Environmental Action Plan, or HEAP as we're calling it. The plan engages Henley's main stakeholder groups, so the council, education, health bodies, businesses, community and voluntary groups and faith groups, to work together to address the issues of environmental damage around Henley. There is a huge energy and drive in our community to tackle this crisis. We have an array of amazing environmental groups and support and goodwill from countless businesses and community organisations. People want to take action and make change for the better. HEAP will build upon the fantastic work that's already been done by the council and community groups, and importantly, it will also help to build awareness amongst residents, which is so critical, about the ecological crisis and inspire them to take action. We in Green Henley and HEAP are here to help. We'd like to work with the council over the next 3 to 6 months so that we can continue to develop HEAP and implement the plan. Increasing numbers of councils across the UK are now declaring ecological emergencies. Frome, for example, declared one last week, and it's looking at expanding projects to increase biodiversity, increasing tree and hedgerow planting, having more diverse and bee-friendly planting in its parks and green spaces, and encouraging more pollinators in all its town centre planters. In relation to the Sea Bill, this is a cross-party bill which would enshrine in law commitment to deliver policy and action in line with the latest science and the government's own ambitions. It's mainstream, it's gathering huge momentum in Oxfordshire, With now Oxfordshire County Council, South Oxfordshire District Council, the City Council and also Whitman Town Council who have passed motions to support it, and West Oxfordshire Council are going to be voting on it as far as I understand tomorrow. Businesses and organisations are fast signing up to the bill. Breakspear, Hobbs and Coney, Ella's Kitchen, we're doing another round now, so we'll be getting more on over the next few weeks. And you probably read in the Morning Standard that Ben Fogel has now come on board, and we've got Keith Overton Store and other high-profile individuals that are now joining the campaign. So having Henley Town Council's support would be hugely influential and would mark Henley as taking a responsible stance in relation to the emergency. So it's our responsibility to take the right actions now to provide a stable future for all of us, and especially for our children. I'm asking you all as community leaders to be on the right side of history and to confirm the recommendation of the planning committee to acknowledge an ecological emergency and to support this evening.
Thank you very much. There was a gentleman in the back. I'll take your question. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Lady Mayor. Steve Hine, Meadow Road, Henley. I've just got some observations about the proposed golf course. I'll try and keep this pretty useful. There's a lot on the agenda about the eco-friendly and green initiatives that you're proposing to concrete over a huge part of Mill Meadows and put in a golf course. That's one. Secondly, it's really crazy to put a golf course right over the floodplain. You know that every year it floods. Sometimes it's a metre of water, it can sit there for anything up to 4 or 5 weeks. People completely trash the golf course. And even if it didn't, the cost of actually cleaning afterwards could be horrendous. 270,000 is now, we all know, is going to creep. It'll probably be in excess of 300,000. I think it's really a waste of that money. The financials don't seem to match up. It absolutely doesn't. Apparently, it's £60,000 profit. We charge £6 a head to go on the golf course. But you're going to need at least 6 to 7 months constant usage. Really, with our inclement weather and the floods, you're lucky to get away with 5 months. That means to say that we will have 2,000 people a month coming into the town, paying £6 a head to go on the golf course. If we cut that in half, not just the income, the income in cars by half, that's 1,000 cars a month coming in. There's no other parking in Henley anyway. So it would be absolutely catastrophic parking. So there's 3 huge issues there to think about before we agree to actually turn this beautiful historic market town into some sort of fun fair and great yard. And I think the Crazy Golf Course is really great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentleman at the front.
Yeah, thank you. Just returning ever so briefly to the climate ecological emergency. My name is Mike Barry, Cromwell Road. Lived here for 30 years, 19 of those I was leading the service journey at Mark and Spencer. And I just want to speak for 90 seconds as a businessman. My action on the climate crisis is very important. Over the lockdown, I read 180 different surveys from around the world, including the UK, about citizens concerned about these issues. In every part of the world, 70% of people were telling me they're concerned about the climate crisis. They don't know how to respond. Business can help with that. And that's why some of the business leaders are stepping forward now, supporting action on the local level, on a national level. On a national level, we've got businesses like Unilever who've got 75,000 carbon labels on their products. We've got Tesco's committing to increase plant-based sales in their stores by 300%. We've got NatWest committing to halve the carbon footprint of the money spent by 2030. All around us, big businesses stepping forward. So the steps you're taking as a council on the local level, working with businesses like Hobbs here, Breakspears, Ella's Kitchen, important employees in the area, is so critically important. I just want to reassure you, business is absolutely good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
It'd be really great if you could go to Wick Road and speak to Premier Inn. You do, everyone does.
Moving on. Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to raise now? I'm sorry, you've already spoken, Diana. Sorry?
It's about a separate.
Oh, is this a separate agenda?
I believe so.
Sorry.
I didn't realise I was doing that. Something I did want to talk about the adventure golf course as well. But by this time I'm talking as a resident and grandmother of 4 to begin with, I thought the adventure golf course was to some materials detailed in plans, which were weed control membrane, artificial grass, plastic models of buildings, including pest control and herbicides. We humans are just one species of millions of other species that all form part of our ecological biosphere of planet Earth. So that if one part of it is destroyed or damaged, it has a knock-on effect on all of the living. Everything we do, everything we make, everything we buy, we have to think, what is it made from? How is it made? What is harming when we use it? And how is it disposed of at the end use using life? So back to the God, membrane, artificial grass, plastic structures are all made from fossil fuels, with all the carbon emissions that the manufacturing, more emissions. The shipping, more emissions. China, more emissions. And that's before contractors start any work and I don't know about concrete on there, but I do know that the ground actually rolled, which impacts the soil into its porosity. In his report, the clerk said that area does not mean flood, but we are no longer in tides. Who knows what's around the corner? If you think what's happening in North America and Europe, you just don't know. So then with man-made membrane grass get put down, but nothing lives under the artificial grass. So all the earthworms fly. Everything that keeps our soil healthy will fly. Then in case an unwanted plant is get up, it will get the zapped with herbicide. In 20 years' time, the place is looking a bit shabby, and we want to get rid of it. That's how. And I'm not saying don't have nature. I am saying we have to use nature in a kind way. Not clear, just so we can have fun. Fundamental to this scheme is £270,000. What is the cost to our environment? What is the cost to our children and grandchildren's future?
Okay, thank you very much.
Answer questions. So, yeah, if you, yes, yeah, if there are any more. No, if there are any more questions,
Oh, yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Are there any more questions? Before we move on. Okay.
Madam Mayor, can
Yes.
I, in view of the multiple contributions from members of the public regarding item 11, which is the ecological emergency. Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to move on.
Yeah.
Can I suggest that we move that to between items 5 and 6
Yeah.
on the agenda,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, absolutely. Is everybody in favour of that bringing it forward? Yeah. Item 4 now is to approve the minutes of the full council meeting on 15th of June. Yeah, is that proposal? Do I have a seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Item 5 is reports of committees. To receive and look at the minutes of the council's committees. And first we've got planning, 22nd of June. And Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hereby present the minutes of the Planning Committee held on Tuesday, the 22nd of June. Item 24, apologies for absence. 25, declarations of interest. 26, minutes. 27, public participation. 28, plans new. And moving to page 10, item 29, objections, calling applications. 30, decision notices. 31, Oxfordshire County Council, Wildlife and Countryside Act, Section 53, application for definitive map modification of order. 32, progress report for applications called in. I do so note.
Thank you very much. And now the report for planning.
Better focus on the same.
Sorry, all in favour? You won't get that one. And now to hear the minutes of the planning committee meeting on the 13th of July. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. I hereby present the minutes of the Planning Committee held on Tuesday, the 13th of July. Item 33, apologies for absence. 34, declarations of interest. 35, minutes. 36, public participation. 37, plans amended. 38, plans new. Moving to page 15, 39, yes. Councillor Hamilton.
38 plans new. I saw with horror this application had come forward for a Premier Inn, and I shared all the sentiments of the views that were put forward on Premier Inn on that application, because clearly they haven't listened to us one bit, and clearly there were some points put forward by, I think, Councillor Reisman that you couldn't make it uglier as you decide. I share those views. I've always said that it should be 3 stories, and if they need a 4th, they should go down a story. But I just wondered, everything is minuted, and obviously it will go off to SODC, but I just wonder whether the district councillors could take note and see what other things we should do in terms of making sure that South Oxfordshire District Council refuses this application, whether it's we attend a meeting, or when they know when it's coming forward, and what we should be doing to ensure that this application, this monstrosity, is not built in the centre of Pembrokeshire.
Thank you, Councillor Hampton. I'll come back on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Hampton. I agree with everything you say, and you will recall, as well as the other members of the planning committee, that you actually were present on some of the meetings we had with Premier Inn. What I think we'll do going forward is we'll make sure that we know as far in advance as possible when the planning committee is coming up, and we should visit en masse to make representation on behalf of the town. Yeah. Where should I get to?
38.
I'm not finished. Okay.
Definitely not finished.
Right. Yes, objections, calling applications, that was 39. 40, decision notices. 41, appeal decision, Town and Country Planning Act 1990, appeal against refusal. 42, Thames Farm surface water drainage proposals. And 43, climate emergency 2030 working group. Councillors will note that unfortunately that minute is not actually as it happened. And councillors have actually received the correct minutes. So just so that that's noted. Okay, thank you. I do so move.
All in favour? Thank you very much. I now call on Donna, Chair of Recreation and Amenities, to give us the minutes.
Minutes of the Recreation and Amenities Committee was held out on Tuesday, 22nd of June 2021. One election of chair, election of vice chair.
Yep.
Apologies for absence. Declaration of interest, 5 public participation, 6 minutes, 7 appointments, subcommittees and return to reference and membership, 8 progress, 9 finances, 7 I say no.
All those in favour?
You made it look easy.
And Councillor Lambert now to give the town community.
So to present the minutes of the Town and Community Committee meeting held on the 29th of June, which is the 29th of June. 18, apologies for absence. 19, declarations of interest. 20, public participation. 21, minutes. 22, finances 2021. 23, communication manager update. 24, highways consultations. 25, proposed car club parking bay. 26, CCTV. 27, Oxfordshire Way marker. 28, police working group. 29, planners report. That's it.
Thank you very much. All those in favour? And finally, Councillor Reisman for the finance strategy management.
I'd like to present the minutes of the meeting of the Finance Strategy and Management Committee held on the 6th of July 2021. Item 15, apologies. Item 16, declarations of interest. Item 17, public participation. Item 18, minutes. Item 19, finance.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
At that meeting, Councillor Hamilton made a comment on zebra crossings and how many had been erected in Oxfordshire and been paid for by Oxfordshire County Council. And he said he would give me a list because I said I'd follow those everyone up and find out why they were paid for rather than one in Henley was not. I have yet to receive the list from Councillor Hamilton. Personally, this has gone on too long now. It's been on about 4 years, the same question by Councillor Hamilton. I think the nonsense really needs to stop. I think, obviously there is no list of zebra crossings that have been paid for by Oxford County Council, not of Councillor Hamilton's, and I certainly don't have one ever. So hopefully now this subject will not come up again in the future. Thank you.
Item 20, expenditure. Item 21, 2022-23 budget. Item 22, 20 isn't there? Item 22, financial regulations. Item 23, pensions discretionary policy. Item 24, comprehensive spending review. Item 25, exclusion of public and press. Item 26, 353, 357 Reading Road. Item 27, legal update. Item 28, Makings Recreation Ground. Item 29, staffing. I so move.
Thank you very much. All those in favour? Okay, we'll now move to the ecological emergency agenda item, which we agreed to move up. I will now call upon Councillor Gavishak to take us through this item.
Thank you, Mayor, for this. The report is on page 41 on your agendas to 42, the 2 pages of the report. Can I ask members of the council and also the audience to actually, members of the public, to actually turn to page 42? Because you will see in the recommendation 5.1, there is a slight mistake. And I would like to amend it before we start. Point number 1 says on your paper, declares an ecological emergency. I would like to amend that to acknowledge an ecological emergency. And the reason why I'm asking for it to be changed is because that is the wording that was passed by planning a week and a half ago. So therefore, if that is accepted by council, that one-word amendment, then I will propose and speak to the motion. So can I propose the amendment of that one word, please?
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Lambert. Okay, all in favour of the?
Thank you. So therefore, I'm going to propose the resolution that's on page 42, that we acknowledge an ecological emergency, and then item 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I think Councillor Thomas is actually going to second in a moment. So if this is seconded, I will then speak to the debate.
Do I have a seconder, Councillor Thomas? Yeah. And all those in favour? Yeah. Councillor Gavishak.
Thank you. Well, firstly, I would like to thank members of the public who have actually spoken. Diana, Kate and Mike, thank you for speaking eloquently from the public gallery on this particular matter. And it's a matter that is really very, very, very important. We, a year ago, declared a climate emergency, and under the chairmanship of Tony Hoskins and the working group and Greener Henley and members of this council, we've actually made substantial progress on trying to actually put right some of the issues to do with climate emergency. This is in a way the second bit of it to do with ecology. We can have a runaway climate emergency, in other words, warming temperatures, but if we actually don't look after the ecology of the planet and also the habitats of the planet, that in fact we're only doing half the job. So this is the second half of the job, that we are acknowledging that we are in an ecological emergency. You will have seen in London the effects of global warming when the hospitals were flooded and the tube station was flooded. You will have seen the effects of climate emergency in Germany, where torrents of water and unfortunately deaths happen. That is to do with the global warming of the planet, and we've seen extreme temperatures in the UK recently. The reason why this bill is being put forward, and the reason why we have this motion on the table at the moment, is that when the planet warms up, habitats are lost, biodiversity is reduced, and this is why I would urge you as a council, hopefully unanimously, to actually pass this motion. Part of the climate emergency bill limits global warming to 1.5 degrees. We have a duty, I think, in Henley, to do the macro and also the micro. In terms of the macro, we think about the whole of the planet. But that means that we have to effect things in Henley on a micro scale that actually helps. So encouraging habitats, encouraging biodiversity. And it's a thing that we already do. Our town clerk, Sheridan, actually spoke very eloquently at planning to say that under the Natural Environment and Rural Act, Community Act of 2006, we already have a duty placed on public bodies to have regard to conserving biodiversity. So we're already doing it. So what we are trying to do is that whenever we actually make policy or make changes in the council, we think about biodiversity. We have to take into account what effect it might have. As Kate very quite rightly said, we have something called the HEAP, which is the Henley Environmental Action Plan, which is in front of the Climate Action Group, and it's been created by Green Henley and the Climate Emergency Work Group. And thanks to Patrick, Kate, Fiona and Tony for actually doing that. This is a Henley Environmental Action Plan that will actually practically make changes on the ground. And I can thank Green Henley and lots of other people. We are quite right. We have in Henley a lot of talent. We have also a lot of energy and a lot of creativity to actually come up with ideas to actually make our environment better, which will help the global planet. I know that Kate has been working with lots of businesses, so actually businesses are on board as well. Breakspears, for example, are looking at their whole systems to actually effect this. And of course, you saw on the Henley Standard the backing of their table for this matter. So therefore, on page 42, excuse me, there is the recommendation, and I would wholeheartedly hope that you would support it. I therefore propose this resolution. Thank you.
Second, Councillor. Oh, you want to speak on this? Okay, Councillor Howard.
No.
Yeah, yes.
In second already. Yeah.
So she'll have the right to speak to it now,
Yeah.
or she can speak to it later, whichever she wishes.
Okay. Do you want to speak on it now?
No, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah.
So the motion is
Yes.
seconded, so you'd like me to speak on it.
You can speak on
Thank you.
I will speak
Firstly, can I
after you.
thank Diane, Kate and Mark for the way they've spoken to us, because they brought this to the meeting and they spoke very eloquently about not just the seagulls, the insects, but also everything that's going on in terms of ecological change. And we're all supporters of climate change. We're all supporters of what we can do for sorting out temperatures. We're all supporters of sorting out nature. And there are success stories. Big kites didn't used to fly around here, but they're doing that. And if we work together, we can get things like that happening again. But we have to think twice about what we do. And we shouldn't, as was point raised, concrete areas over that will kill our wildlife. We should think twice about building a 5-storey hotel in Henley. We should think twice about the impact that planning has on our ecosystem. And we need to think locally about some of the local things that we do as a council. So why do we have 92 diesel bus movements today when they could be electric buses? They're the things that we as a council can put right, and we should be working to get an electric bus rather than a diesel bus. There are many ideas within the commercial waste paper. I could have raised it earlier, but I'll raise it at this point, including paper cup collection, including fewer HGV refuse trucks coming through the town. And if some of those ideas are taken forward, and I think some of them should be, even though we aren't going to have a working group, then some of those ideas can be discussed within the climate change group or within the ecological change group. But it's those local initiatives that we need to focus on and leave our MP, who will, along with the government, I'm quite sure, be working on what they can do to change climate change and also change the increases in temperatures that are going through
Thank
the
you
roof.
very much, Mr. Will. I think that's.
I just want to make one
No,
further
no, no.
point.
I think honestly, because this is going on and going, and I know.
I'd just like to make one point, Madam, and then I'll sum up.
Make
okay?
it quick, okay?
We should focus on local issues and should we work together. I'm delighted that you guys are here tonight. I really would like to work with the Warriors of Waste and also with the Henley Wombles in terms of seeing what we can do in that area. I'm quite sure that there will be no hiding at COP24 when that happens. Alex Sharma is a brilliant MP in Reading West, and I'm sure he's listening to everyone and sees what we can do. So if we are going to write a letter to John Howell, then by all means write it to Alex Sharma as well, because he'll listen to us. As will John. And John will be doing everything he can.
That's enough,
to ensure
Mr. Councillor Hamilton. Come on. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us this evening. I just kind of like to apologise really for slightly putting a break on the declaration of the ecological emergency at the planning meeting. I can assure you it was just a question of timing for us really. We are a council that likes to do our homework. We like to make sure that we are making exactly the right decisions at the right time. I personally am going on this journey starting tomorrow by meeting Fiona Hewer, who is our officer for the climate emergency, and I'm sure that all the councillors around this table will be starting on their journey as well. They've probably already started themselves. So I'm positive that we will probably move, speaking for myself, we will move to a declaration, but we must do this at a considered pace. And I don't think there's anything more I need to say really, but thank you so much again for all of your contributions. Thank you. Councillor Royston, sorry.
Yes, I'd also like to thank the members of the public who came along to speak so clearly, and I'm not going to try and improve at all, or even try and match their contributions, which I think put the problem as clearly and as straightforwardly and as certainly as it could. Kate mentioned leadership, and we are community leaders, and we can lead in two ways. One of them is to point people in the right direction. And that's really what we're doing here tonight. We're pointing people in the direction saying, we need to do something about the ecological emergency. We recognise that it's happening and action is needed. And subsequent to that, as Councillor Thomas has just indicated, we need to take that action. We need to start taking initiatives, making a difference, and living up to the words that we're expressing here tonight. And so those are the two forms of leadership that we need to show. So I'm not a scientist. But I do trust David Attenborough. I'm not sure about Ben Fogle. I don't know who he is, to be honest. But he seems to know what he's talking about. So, but I do trust David Attenborough, and I do trust the worldwide large majority of scientists who say climate change and the ecological emergency are massive challenges to the human race and life on this planet. We need to do something in Henley as well as across the world.
Thank you very much. Okay, then we've got a proposer, we've got a seconder, all those in favour. Oh, you've got to sum up. Sorry. Councillor Gavin.
thank you for everybody's contribution, Councillor Hamilton, Councillor Thomas and Councillor Rice. You're absolutely right, it is leadership and it's signposting. I'm sorry you don't know who Ben Fogel is, but I'm sure your education will be fulfilled.
I know Ben Stokes is.
Soon. And Councillor Thomas, I totally and utterly respect your views. You said that we will possibly move towards it, but consider that pace. So therefore we'll do the research about declaring it, but it will be on facts and figures and information that will come to the planning committee, and it will be a measured and reasoned debate. Just turning to Councillor Hamilton, I respect your views. But you did say we should focus on local issues. This is exactly what we're going to do. Henley Town Council is going to focus on local issues to actually get some of this done. So therefore, I can positively recommend the proposal, which is on page 42, which is the whole of 5.1, with the word acknowledge in, and I urge that the council unanimously supports it. Please, thank you, Mayor.
All those in favour? Right, thank you very much. Thank you all. Okay. Let's move on. Reports of other authorities. Councillor Arlott, do you want to talk about your... No? Does anybody have any questions?
No, because there were none submitted, I think.
Sorry?
There were none submitted, I don't
None,
think.
there weren't, well, no, okay. Councillor Scavishak, I've read your report. I will say that it's amazing, it's fantastic that you, Councillor Arlott, perhaps I think have actually brought forward the civil parking enforcement. Henley it's about time we can now allow the police to get on with what they're best at and steer the people that keep parking our yellows and our double yellows into parking areas now. But it really is fantastic. So does anyone? There were no questions submitted for this evening. No. Reports from outside bodies. To receive reports from members representing the council. Any reports from outside bodies? Councillor Lambert. Sorry? County Council report. I'm so sorry. I'm skipping through this.
I propose to move on.
Can we? Councillor Gavishek.
Sorry, I just have one thing to add. Page 28. I mean, it's good that we've got the residence parking and the Northfield car park space for the car parks. The final item, costings for the Gravel Hill and Swiss Run crossing. As I've said all along, the full costing of the Gravel Hill crossing is going to be met by OCC. We have got the figure in, and that figure will be going to the planning committee. And in fact, the idea is that the Gravel Hill crossing is going to be implemented in September. So that's seriously good news. The second zebra crossing going in Great Road and this. The Swiss Farm crossings are again being costed. That's a slightly more complicated thing because that's a colour crossing, not just a zebra crossing with bridge. So that will come short. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did anybody want to ask a question? I don't think you. No.
We'll try again now.
Councillor Lambert.
Right. What is this? I'd just like to remind councillors and members of the public that on Saturday we have the Town Visitors Regatta on Thames. It's been a very difficult one to organise this year, of course, and it will be different than other Town Visitors Regattas, but we're I can report is that we have received 200 more entries than last year, and benefiting from the Team B this year taking place before Henry Royal, and all those people looking to get practice in on Henry Reed. There's going to be an absolutely packed day of racing, so if anybody who's still interested, please come along.
Thank you very much. I didn't know it was on, actually.
See you there.
Very,
You do know.
Well, I'll be there, yeah. I haven't been invited. I will, yes. Who is he?
I'll let him know.
My civic engagements, unfortunately, they weren't included in here, and I don't know where they got to, but it has been busy. It's been a busy month, and some of the highlights for me, I think, were the Masters rowing. I handed out the medals to all the rowers at Upper Thames, and that was a fantastic event, busy. It's clear that everyone's desperate to get out again. So I think all the Henley events that are coming up, I think they're going to be very busy. I think the Royal Gator, the festivals, etc. I also handed out the medals to the swimmers who took part in the club pub on Friday, and that was again an event. I didn't quite realise how big it was. I mean, 800 swimmers, I think. I gave every single one of those swimmers a medal. By the end of the evening, I would like to say I had spasms in my arm and I could barely talk, but it was a fantastic event, and I was so chuffed that they invited me, and everyone should take part next year. I think it really was a good event. So,
Is that everybody?
except for me.
You've got to have the medals.
Because I'll be sitting and watching, yeah, but it really was. And I have been quite busy, but unfortunately I can't remember everything I've done at the moment because there's too much. But it's been really good fun, and I've very enjoyed it. And you will get my list in a bit at the next one. Okay, to item 9, which is the Adventure Golf Course, and that's on page 29. Town Clerk, I'd like you to give a summary, if you could, on the reports for the.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So first of all, I'd like to thank all the members of the public who took the time to carefully consider the business case and respond to the survey. We had 131 responses to the online survey, as well as a number of email responses as well. The survey was designed to include balanced options and a full range of the relevant information. And I'm pleased to report that as a result, the residents were broadly in favour of the adventure golf proposals. 57% of respondents felt that the proposals represented the best value for money for that area, with only 1/4 believing that it didn't. If the proposals are taken forward, though, the consultation did raise several areas for the Putting Green Working Group to look at in more detail to ensure that the scheme is as successful as it can be. A number of things to bring out from the feedback. It was notable that a number of responses suggested a splash park for the area. This was addressed in the business case and the reasons why this was discounted, especially along the lines of the cost for doing so, but the fact that it would not be significantly revenue generating, and therefore a different sort of funding would be required for it, as well as the fact that it would only be benefiting a much smaller proportion of the population to the adventure golf proposals, and only for a limited portion of the year as well. Biodiversity was also raised as a main concern. The area at present is lawn, closely mowed lawn, which is a monoculture of little ecological importance. Having said that, it is obviously of more ecological importance than concrete. would be. However, we believe that these proposals provide an opportunity for the council to deliver a net biodiversity gain for the area. And we need to give careful consideration for the landscaping and the planting that is to take place there. There is a significant budget there for the landscaping of the area. And we will certainly be working with our conservation park warden and local interest groups such as Greener Henley to look at how we can best achieve that. But I think it certainly is important, especially given the decision to acknowledge an ecological emergency, that I think this project cannot deliver anything short of a net biodiversity gain. And I'm certain that we will be able to achieve that. There are a lot of, staying with biodiversity, there are a lot of artificial elements. There is concrete, there is plastic, and they do have an impact obviously on biodiversity and of course carbon emissions as well. However, one of the most important things to the council is also the durability of the course, and what we want to make sure is that the materials that we use are the most durable, the most resistant to vandalism and social behaviour, so that we don't have to be constantly replacing it and constantly sending material to landfill, for example. But again, we are looking to incorporate natural elements as much as possible, certainly things like wood, for example, and it's certainly something that we can take into consideration. And other things that we're looking at, especially looking at the climate emergency, is ensuring that there are very low energy costs for the ongoing operation of the course. So although the formal consultation has closed, if the proposals are taken forward, then of course we will continue to work with stakeholders and feedback that we receive. These are certainly ongoing conversations that we will be having to make sure that they're incorporated within the final scheme. And finally, the concerns were raised about the finances. Now, the financial projections do look very, very positive, and I think it is very right that we look at those in detail and make sure that they are realistic. Our research, which has included a number of local authority and private-run adventure golf courses, does suggest that our figures are reasonable and on the more conservative side. However, of course, we can't take that for granted, and we do need to keep checking the figures. However, the net profits do include all operating costs that we foresee, as well as long-term replacement of the assets as well. And I believe that's my summary. Thank you.
Great summary. Thank you very much, Duncan. Councillor Humphrey did have his hand up, and then I'll come straight to you, Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to speak to this. I've got a huge passion in golf, but I think we're at a point now, and I would say this, where we should perhaps acknowledge where we've got to, and rather than go down the proposals in little a of the construction of, is ask the working group to go back to the drawing board and take on the points that Diane made, and take on the points of Mr. Hunt. I've looked at various, I'm not on the working group, but I've looked at various golf courses around. I've been to the one at Braylett Park, and I've been to the one at Southampton, and I spoke to the Times correspondent about the one in North London. And I've got the same concerns about the numbers. I think Councillor Lambert and Councillor Reisman has, in terms of value for money and break even and £6 a ticket, etc. However, what we've heard tonight is the biodiversity issue of concreting that area over. Yes, we could do it in the nicest possible way for the environment, but it's still concreting it over. And I would love that area to be used more. I'd love it to be used more, just not by the people of Henley, but also by the tourists that come to the town. But having looked at those numbers, and I worked at 1,080 per month, but obviously you wouldn't get that many in January and February when it does flood down there. We should perhaps at this point just say, let's defer this to the working group and ask the working group to come back with a fully fledged proposal, rather than just going straight down a route of spending the money on the construction of a course that clearly is beginning to have, on the one hand, some traction in terms of consultation, but on the other hand, some residents that are particularly upset about it. And let the working group work it all the way through, let them look at the supply of the materials, and then bring that back in 6 weeks' time in September, because it might be best to just do it slowly, rather, as we've done with the climate emergency one, rather than just jumping down a route of building and construction, which is a lot of money. And we obviously we get grants. That's my view. So my proposal would be to defer it if I've got a second.
Councillor Belchamp, did you want to speak on that?
I think that you can ask if there's a second.
I didn't think there was a second. Sorry, is there a
There
second
was a
for
second.
this? No.
Sorry,
Councillor
so
Belchamp.
I'll take your advice on that. But there is a proposal that is proposed in place. Is this an amendment to the proposal, or is this a proposal?
Are you referring to Councillor Hamilton's?
Yes.
I think that would be a question for Councillor Hamilton. I believe it is a fresh
Would
proposal.
you like me to make it as an amendment?
There has been no motion put forward already, so
Would you like me to make it as an amendment? We defer A at the current time.
I don't think Councillor Hamilton was
I will
listening.
not
There's
accept
no
it.
proposal to amend.
Yes. I will not accept it.
So if Councillor Gavishak proposes 5.3, I'll second it.
Councillor Gavishak. And then I'll come to you, Councillor.
Right. I would like to propose 5.4. And I believe that Councillor Cook is going to second my motion. And if that's seconded, I will then talk to the motion.
You have a seconder?
Okay, thank you. Right, I am going to propose the whole of 5.3 in its entirety to be taken forward by this council, and I will give reasons for it as well. I have listened to what has been said in the audience. We've got to bear in mind that this particular group, the Potting Green Working Group, has actually been working for 11 months on this. So this particular proposal is after 11 months of consultation, 11 months of research, 11 months of fantastic research by the town clerk. And actually it is based on sound figures as far as we know them to be. I would like to thank members of the working group, which included Donna, John, Sarah, Paula, and Councillor Everton, Dave Everton as well. And thanks to Sheridan and Carl Bishop for 10 months of contributions to this proposal that has come to this scheme, which we put it out to tender. We had four companies come to the plate, and we whittled that down to one, and we've now come up with a scheme. If this proposal goes through, there is still a lot of work for the Potting Green Working Group to do. I will just highlight some things from the Town Clerk's report. 57% public consultation was in favour of this. Only 26% against. And the 26% was varied because they wanted other things that had already been discounted in the business case. The Potting Green Working Group will have many more meetings to discuss pricing, marketing, staffing, and also the items under 3.7, which are suggestions for improvement and concerns. accessibility, price, noise, vandalism, all of those, the Putting Green Working Group needs to have a look at, which includes carbon emissions and artificial surfaces. It includes all of this to actually be done. We've got to bear in mind that declaring an ecological emergency does not mean we stop doing things. If we actually stop doing things, then the car park down at Mill Meadows would be turned back into ploughed fields, and no one would be able to park there, because that's time, it's inert. So we do have to move forward on the basis that we are going to actually increase the biodiversity for that patch. But the other thing that's really important is that part of the consultation said this: 36% of the public want us to use the profits going back into the parks. So therefore, if we actually generate revenue and get an income, and the income streams, as predicted, are substantial, for a £270,000 spend, the income predicted is £50,000 per year. Now that is far more than any of the investments that we have in the town council. I think 10% for the green electricity is about the best that we achieve. 4% are an investment. This is a huge amount, 25% on right? Plus the fact that if we generate revenue, then we can actually have the money to actually spend on more habitats and spend on more biodiversity and spend on more trees and actually improve the environment, not just for Mill Meadows, but for Marsh Meadows and also all areas around the town. Money could flow into Freeman's Meadow to actually plant more trees and create more habitats. So this is not a situation where we're saying we're going to concrete over the whole thing and that's it, full stop. It's not. It's a way of actually providing entertainment for people coming to Henley and an attraction so that people coming to Henley. The other thing is that the evidence suggests, and I will just spend one more minute on this. The evidence suggests that this actually will be popular all year round. People will come in October, November, December, January and February. So not only will we make a profit, we will actually increase the car park as well going forward. So we will have even more money to actually spend on the projects. SODC, as Councillor Owen knows, and Councillor Gillian knows, are actually looking for revenue generating projects because money is tight. And that's absolutely what we should do in here. So therefore, can I ask you to look at page 35? The recommendation is 5.3. And I propose the whole of it in 5.3 with the working group to actually look at the other bits as well. In fact, B says, authority delegated to the town clerk in consultation with the Putting working group to agree any amendments to the scheme. So if there are amendments, moving forward, we will do that. I so propose. Thank you.
I've got quite a few questions here. Councillor Clark, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm completely in favour of it. We talked a lot at this council about basic revenue generating ideas. This is a brilliant, if not the best one that we've come up with so far. When you look at the figures, they seem very optimistic, but they're based on fact. They're based on what other areas have achieved through similar jobs. So you can't poo-poo and laugh those off. I think it's good. I think if you look at the numbers, it's some 24 people a day playing it. Go to Marlowe's, they have a terrible course set up in Higgins Park for portable plastic trays. I'm sure in about the 2 hours I was sat there, at least that many people played that course. So if we can do something a hell of a lot better than that, I think it will be successful. I was just going to say, B, if we could, well, you don't have to read to it, but a tiny amendment, you've got the expertise of Greener Henley, why not add in that Greener Henley is one of the consulting parties to be the only amendment that I would put forward, and if we don't accept it, that's okay. Just if we've got knowledge of Greener Henley to look at what they think on the materials, let's get them on board so that we have a more positive pitch to our residents.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, it's no secret that I did start off from a less positive position on this project. But, you know, as I stated a couple of cycles ago, I have been won over actually. I think it's an excellent idea and I think it should work for us. The one question I would like to ask is, what if any protection is there for the council that the £270 won't be ward and just run away? Everyone.
If it was £270, I would be very, very happy. So the question is, to what extent can we ensure that the £270,000 is that there isn't going to be any overspent?
You said it better than I ever could have.
Is it going to become an HS2 then?
This is it is a good question and one for the working group to consider. It was made very clear in the in our tendering process that the amounts tendered would be the final amounts. It has increased from £250,000 to £270,000, mainly with the inclusion of benches, although obviously that's not £20,000. Benches for those who need a rest, as well as the main one is low-level bollard lights, which will not give much light pollution, but will allow play into the early evening to increase the amount of time that obviously the facility can be kept open. That's the main increase. There are other possibilities for savings to be made. There's a large amount put aside for landscaping. I cannot remember the total. I think it's around the 20,000 mark. Now, of course, we do have a lot of in-house expertise with our Parks Department, especially with our Conservation Park warden as well, and our assistant parks manager as well is a specialist horticulturalist as well. And the hope is that we will be able to achieve a lot of the work in-house to be able to bring it down. So I think there will be, even if there are overspends in some places, and there usually are with these projects, that we will hopefully be able to balance it out. But certainly this is an important consideration for the working group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hang on, I think Councillor Hooper, did you have your hand up earlier? Were you reaching out again? I think it's Councillor Riceman first.
Does Donna want to speak first? She's a second.
You may speak.
Well, this has been a fantastic meeting to be part of. It's been a really fantastic meeting. We've all got really well. It's been a pleasure and a joy, to be honest. It's been fantastic. I'm actually but you're constantly knowing us that we have never come up with revenue generating schemes. And this is a revenue generating scheme.
That's not good.
I know, but
let's just. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Councillor Riceman.
Well, like Councillor Lambert, Councillor, I don't sit on RNA, and so when as Chair of Finance, the accountant and the town clerk came to talk to me after an RNA meeting and said that we were going to have to spend £250,000 on the Adventure Golf. I gulped rather, and it was rather a lot more than I'd expected. And but what I did was I went to talk with the town clerk and talked with other councillors who are on the project group, and I asked questions, and we gathered the facts, and the town clerk put together a business case. We looked at working successful examples, and the result is that we have a viable, not just a viable scheme, but an excellent scheme, which is going to be a great asset to the town, as well as earning us money. It's hard to think of of a better and more suitable project. Although I very much take into account the comments, which I think the town clerk has gone a long way to answering, about the nature of the bill and how we might mitigate the effects of it. Now, so I am completely convinced. I'm not concerned about the desirability of the scheme or the viability of it. And Councillor Hamilton seems to have a fear of facilities being provided in this town, and he seems to have a love of unnecessary delays. And it's interesting in this week's Henley Standard, and it talks about firebombs, drug dealing and vandalism could be the result of an improved skate park in Henley. We've been here before. We've heard Councillor Hamilton talk down Henley, make dire predictions about the effects of our decisions. But we've had vision and creativity, and we've developed carefully, and we've provided an excellent world-class facility down at the skate park, which we're going to do here. He claimed it was going to be Toxteth on Thames. He claimed it was an uncosted and unplanned dream. These were disgraceful remarks, and he shouldn't be repeating them now. He should learn to be positive about Henley, to look at the good things that we do, and the good things that this council does, and the excellence of our town.
I will respond to Councillor Riceman's points. The skate park was heading in the wrong direction, and it was pulled round in the right direction. And we applied for grants from SODC and from Sport England, and they very generously supported those projects, that project in its entirety, which is why the skate park ended up being built to such a good specification. But it was heading in the wrong direction at one point. So those points were made, but they were made at the time, all right? And taking them out of context is not the thing to do. I am passionate about this adventure play area, all right? And I am passionate about making sure that the area there is used properly, all right? But I just feel at the moment there are too many loose ends in this project, and I feel, for that reason, I'm just answering the points that Councillor Wiseman and
point of order. Councillor Hamilton has spoken on this matter already. He is now speaking again.
You're interrupting me.
Okay,
So
I'm making a point of
if
order.
you could sit down.
Councillor
If you
Hamilton,
could sit down,
Councillor
I'll carry
Hamilton.
on. I will just make the point.
Be
if
very,
I may,
you have
very
already
briefly,
spoken, so be
at this
very
point,
quick.
I just feel there are too many loose ends, and for that reason, I will abstain.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. Whew. Right. Councillor Gavichak, would you like to sum up?
Yes, I will.
Please be brief.
Right, Councillor Clark, thank you for your enormously positive comments. It was really good. I won't include your amendment, but rest assured, we will invite Brina Henley to the Putnam Green Working Committee to actually suggest things. The town clerk has said in his answer to the question, in fact, were there going to be cost overruns? Well, we're hoping there won't. And he mentioned that there's £20,000 of landscaping, so there will be huge biodiversity gains for this particular area. So therefore, that is certainly something we should decide widely for that. And of course, we've got, as Town Clerk said, we've got considerable expertise in the park to actually talk about these matters. Councillor Cook was absolutely right. It's been an absolutely happy committee to work on. It really has. It's been constructive. It's been positive. We've had disagreements, but they've been done in a positive matter. I will actually make a comment on the skirt park. Councillor
I would rather we didn't.
Right,
Stick to the
okay.
topic.
Right, well, then I wholeheartedly recommend this. Having worked on this for a whole 10 months, all right? Councillor Hinton turned up to the meetings. Councillor Arlott turned up to the meetings. All councillors were available to turn up to these meetings. They didn't have to be on the working group. They could pitch up at any time and do it.
Yes.
And therefore, it is, I wholeheartedly think we should pass item 3 in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, the proposal, we've got a second. All in favour? That's passed. Thank you. And finally, item 10 on your agenda is the public participation scheme. And that's really to review, I'm sure you've all read this, to review and approve the updates. Councillor LaPlante.
I think all the updates are good. I just, it may only be me that feels it could be the case, but we've had it a few times in public participation where members of the public aren't entirely clear that that is their only option to speak to later items in the agenda. A little bit like we had tonight.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if maybe one of the first statement itself could actually kind of make clearer to members of the public that this is their only chance to speak to items that may appear later in the agenda, unless specifically said, or maybe an hour verbal introduction to the meeting as chaired would make that slightly clearer. Because in the history of my time on council, that seems to be one of the things that pops up in some regularity. Is that unless it is explained, we have members of the public who take their time to come along and then feel that they haven't been heard later because of precise confusion.
That's good. Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to? Sorry,
Thank you. I've just got a query on the questions from the town's residents who take priority, followed by property owners, businesses, and then non-residents. Does that resident, does that encompass councillors as well who live in the town as having priority? Because councillors are allowed to speak in public participation, and I'm just wondering where in the pecking line we come.
Normal resident.
So councillors speaking as members of the public would be considered as if they are members of the public. So where they are in the priority would, I believe all councillors are residents, so they would be treated as residents. If they weren't a resident of Henley, which is possible, then they would be lower down the priority from residents of Henley.
Yeah, can I just ask, I'm just looking at this public participation.
John,
and it does say that speeches will last no more than 2 or 3 minutes.
No, you can stand up.
I'm sorry. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't speak very often, but I
Sorry.
and sometimes it's when I think you're
A bit brief, John.
So I just make that. I just don't make. It doesn't make sense when we have people talking for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and here we have 2 to 3 minutes. In the actual on paragraph 5, all speeches shall last no more than 2 or 3 minutes.
That's what they should. They should last no more than
Yeah, they
3.
should,
I know
but-
that's the problem. Is
So that is pointless having that actually in.
It does follow the
No.
discretion of the chairman.
yes, yeah. Like
So if the
today.
chairman wishes to move it on,
yeah.
great. It's not.
Yeah, it just seems.
I mean,
It is, well, it doesn't. Never happens. It never
perhaps I'm not
happens.
being tough enough.
Some speak for less, but you're right.
It never happens.
Councillor Robson.
Can I propose that the amended public participation notes as on the agenda are adopted with the addition of a short sentence as Councillor Plough very sensibly suggested
Thank you, Councillor Robson.
for the town clerk to draft.
We all in favour of adopting the. Thank you. Well, that ends our full council for this evening.